Taking control of the car buying experience. Demand the most for your money. Here's the Car Buyer Advisor.
Always a pleasure to have on our show Michelle Anderson, and today joining her, Rick Anderson with Nevada Mobile Automotive Service. Thanks so much for being here and your commitment to our community.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mitch.
You know, one of the things that I love about Nevada Mobile Automotive Service is the mobile. And I want people to get that, once you go mobile, you never go back. And Michelle, we've had a conversation before about mobile and that stationary shops, however necessary they may be for the large job, they're retro.
Right. Well, and again, mobily, we have a lot of tools on our vehicles that we are able, that enable us to be able to do a lot of things in the field that you would normally have taken your car to a standard shop for, such as oil changes, brake changes, tune-ups, and that enables the consumer to be able to make money while they have to spend it.
Well, and this is, I would like to take a moment about this because you said make money while they spend it. Mm-hmm. Maintenance on a car is a necessity. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk a lot about maintenance today and what happens if you don't maintain cars on some specific vehicles. We're going to have a tech talk today. But corporations, businesses with multiple vehicles, this isn't about just spending money and doing the necessary. They're making money when they actually have you come to them. Let's talk about how impactful that can be to a business to service their fleets with you.
Okay. Well, right now, if you're a business and you're taking your vehicle to a shop, you're probably paying a technician to drive it over there and either wait for the car to be done, or you're paying for 2 technicians to take it over and drop it off, 2 technicians to go pick it up. And while the repair may be around the same cost as what we charge, the difference comes from what you're actually paying those technicians and the time of your truck being down where it's not making money for you, because every second that your truck is down, that is $1 that your business is not making. And that's where we come in for fleet services. We'll actually do it after hours on the weekends or when your techs are off. We'll come out to you and take care of it there, or we'll pick up the truck and deliver it back to you. And so what that means for a business is your truck has minimal downtime. You're always making money, and you're not paying those techs to have to drop it off and pick it up, which is an added charge as well.
Well, and I love what you just said, that you service these vehicles when they're already scheduled to be down. Instead of, most shops are open from, a specific daylight time, this time of the day to the end of the day. And that may be when that truck needs to be in service to make money. So you're not talking about just the savings of staffing to get to deliver and pick up cars or to sit and wait for them. You're talking about the money that truck is going to make because you're going to service it when it's off duty anyway, not when, they're off. They have to be off duty to come to a stationary shop. I think this is a big money maker for corporations, and there are some national and large organizations that are already aware of this. You service a lot of big fleets, so this is not new to you, and I want our corporations and our businesses with large fleets to know this is a business with integrity and quality and commitment to you.
Right, and we've even had fleet companies who, it's kind of like getting a job. We fill out paperwork, they do a background check, and we've come out, on top, nothing wrong, and they use us, and their end results is they see higher profits at the end of the quarter. And so that's what we would challenge any fleet company is, what you're spending now, where your profits are, let us come in for a quarter, take care of it, and at the end of that quarter, look at it and see, is there an increase? If there's not, we're happy to say sorry and move on. And if there is, well, great, I'm glad we could help you out.
Well, Michelle, that's probably the greatest suck-you-in move that you'll ever make on our show, because once they do, you and I both already know that they'll never let you go. I don't think anyone ever has. They're going to realize, wow, this is just convenience and quality, and we're making money from it. So that's great. Just get your foot in the door is all you need.
That's right.
And you own it after that. Well, let's talk a little bit about that regular maintenance. Corporations, they're really big on that. They realize that it's a necessity. A lot of people will cross that line just a little bit sometimes, and there's some cars you don't want to do that with, Rick. We were talking earlier today about this. There are cars that any potential neglect of your service, even what you would think 500 miles wouldn't make a difference, is an absolute no-no on some cars. Let's talk about regular maintenance and then some specific vehicles that it would really be scary to miss an oil change on.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. So last week we talked about how important the viscosity of oil was for a diesel engine, and when you don't stay on top of your services regularly, it'll affect the injectors. Now, there's a gas engine which is a 4.7 liter V8, and it comes in some Chrysler products that are in the SUVs.
Like Jeeps,
Durangos, and the 1500 pickups, Dodge pickups. And these 4.7 liter V8s, they're great when they're regularly serviced. However, if an inferior oil is used, and let's say you push the oil change by anywhere's you're supposed to change your oil every 3,000 miles. And if you're using a conventional type oil, you're picking up the cheapest thing on the shelf, and what happens is you're using this Jeep to tow a trailer, or using your pickup to haul a load of trash to the dump. These trucks are working a little extra hard, and what can happen is we found that the most common issue is when the valve seats and the cylinder heads are a softened material, and they actually will fall out or loosen up and then cause misfire issues and some actually costly engine repairs. And so the main point of this is we want to direct the consumer to a higher quality oil, like actually a synthetic type oil. Valvoline, Mobil, Castrol, those are the higher grade oils out there that most of the consumers would recognize. And stay on top of your oil changes regularly. So,
and Mitch, I do want to clarify. I think what Rick is trying to say is not all oils are made the same. Some of the lower cost oils that are out there and that you would find in some of those drive-in, drive-out oil change places, they contain a paraffin wax in there, and that wax gets in there, it junks up the motor. And the other thing that those lower cost oils do not do is, as they heat up, the oils lose their protective properties. And I know we've discussed this before. Some of those lower cost oils with that paraffin wax in there does not protect your vehicle at the higher temperatures, like when you are under load or racing down the freeway or pulling that trailer. And so at that point, that is where these lower cost oils are doing damage to this specific motor.
Well, and I really want to get into this a little bit deeper too, because what would give somebody an indication that they may be on the verge of having that happen in one of these motors themselves? Because you said, that even using an inferior oil or neglecting an oil change, maybe going 500 miles longer on one, well, I'm going to do that next week or something.
Yeah, right.
It's really risky on these.
Well, and a lot of people do that, I got to say, I don't have one of these engines, but even in my own truck, I'm like, well, I'm going to change my oil tomorrow. And then I'm driving to work. Okay, I'm going to change it today. And then it just doesn't, I'm always putting it off an extra day. So we've even had customers that have really nice trucks, and they take care of, they change their oil, and out of the blue, they notice an engine misfire. And, my first question to them is, well, where did you change your oil? And a lot of times they say, well, I just, I go to work convenient. I go to the In-N-Out oil change place that's by my house. And a lot of time it's an inferior type of oil, and they push it 500 miles, and then all of a sudden they're having a misfire. The check engine, typically a sign of a problem is just the check engine light coming on. And what we find is a lot of times is an engine cylinder misfire, and one of the valve seats has actually loosened up, and a lot of times people try to do a tune-up, and they'll try to replace some spark plugs, a fuel injector, trying to get this check engine light to go away, when actually what needs to happen is one way that we test the engine to make sure that it actually has a major issues. We'll do a compression test on the cylinder, and we'll do that once when it's cold and once when it's hot, because when it's cold, the metals haven't expanded, and we can find that valve seat is actually loose. And then when it's warmed up, they get tight again. So a compression test will be an indicator of a valve problem.
Well, and what can be done about this? I mean, one way is to regularly maintain those motors, increase the quality of the oils you're using in them now, stay away from these bulk, lower
bulk oil type places. Yeah. And again, so the first thing to do, if you do have a 4.7 in a Chrysler product that you have, the first thing to do is to change to a synthetic oil. And when you do that, know that you don't have to change your synthetic oil every 3,000 miles. But I also want to say, don't increase it to 7,500 miles. So a 5,000 mile mark is the perfect interval for a synthetic oil, one of these engines. Just protect your investment. You don't want to go through a repair on one of these engines because they are costly. A 4.7 Chrysler engine, when it has a valve issue or even a main bearing issue, because we have seen main bearings even have a failure as well, which typically means that they really neglected their oil changes. Anyway, the repairs on these engines are very expensive. Avoidable. And avoidable. And the other thing is coolant. Coolant is also a very important factor in this, because if you have a coolant leak and you're not aware of this, it's because even you may even have a leak that's not touching the ground, and you may not be aware of a potential problem. So it's just good to have a routine maintenance done to your car. Use a synthetic oil. Have it inspected. Because if you have a coolant leak and the temperature comes up in these vehicles, and you are hauling a trailer or just running down the freeway in the morning trying to get to work on time, when the temperature rises in these engines, that's when you have a potential threat to have a valve problem.
And Mitch, I can say from the person who handles the phone side of stuff, a lot of the times when these guys go out to calls for these types of motors, some of the typical symptoms that the customer will call in with is the check engine light. When it's cold, it's running a little rough or missing. When it warms up, that mist kind of goes away, or they hear a tick that goes away when it warms up, or sometimes the opposite, like it's not there when it's cold and then it starts ticking when it's warm. So those are kind of things to look out for, and really just a telltale sign that this problem might have happened.
And Michelle's right with that. I mean, your car should run smooth from the time you start it when it's cold from when it warms up. But if you notice when you start it, it's running rough, it has a miss, and it's kind of running a little bit rough when you start and then smooths out after it warms up, that's an indication of a valve problem. Or vice versa. You start it and it's running smooth, and then after it warms up, it seems like it develops a miss, or it's running a little rough after warm up. That's also an indication of a valve issue.
Well, and it sounds to me like if they've started to develop this issue already,
mm-hmm.
and they've already passed the line where that seat may need to be replaced, that it's still a lot less money to nip that quickly than it is to allow it to develop into a catastrophic, more serious failure.
And that's true too. The longer you run with a problem, there's other. Okay, so if you already have a miss and you already have a valve seat issue, your engine can be repaired. I won't say with minimal cost, but it won't be the cost of replacing the whole engine. The longer you run with a problem in your engine will cause other components in your engine to fail. However, if you do have a valve issue, your engine is repairable and we can fix it. At that point, it's not so much a mobile issue. We'll have to bring your vehicle to the shop to be repaired. The cylinder heads will have to come off, but there's things that aftermarket machine shops and other parts depots have produced to make this 4.7 engine much more durable. So once this issue has happened, what we can do is remove the cylinder heads. we can put a more hardened material valve seat in your vehicle or in the engine to make it much more solid. There's gaskets that protect the valve seat particles to go through the engine. They've done a lot of upgrades on this engine, just recognizing the aftermarket places have just recognizing that there is a to make this engine solid for your car. They've made upgrades to these parts to keep it solid.
And I do want to say also, I know that the consumer, they look at it like, well, it's just a little miss at this point. And like Rick said, a little miss will turn into, if it's not fixed, it could be catastrophic engine failure, because that valve seat at some point is going to come loose and go through your engine. It's going to cause a problem. And I can tell you from experience that where most consumers get into trouble is they have that little miss. They don't fix the problem. The engine does fail. And an engine replacement, it is really at the replacement value of these cars. And so that's where most consumers get into a problem, is that the engine replacement is the retail value or resale value of the car, whereas a valve correction or valve replacement is probably a third to half of the cost.
A big deal to know about these cars, and there are many people out in our community right now that have them that may be unaware of this stuff. And, this is what I love about Nevada Mobile Automotive Service, is that you have a blog. You talk about these issues regularly with your community people that are already aware that you exist.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to find the little, I'm going to say, quirks in almost every different make and model of the vehicle. We're a generalized repair business. We're mobile first, and then and we have a shop second for the major repairs. But we get to see the little things. There's actually not a whole lot to be said about Chrysler in general, but these are the one thing that we found to be a more common issue, and they are. You can have a 4.7 liter in your vehicle. I'm not trying to scare anybody into going out and selling their car right away. However, I just want to, educate everybody out there. It says let's change your oil from a conventional oil to a synthetic and protect your investment, so you don't have to experience these costly repairs that we're talking about here this morning.
Well, I think you've said it. It's a heat fluctuation. So
it is a heat fluctuation.
The coolant, if you're not at the right pH or viscosity of your coolant, and your coolant allows your engine to heat up a little bit, or if the oil isn't changed and it heats up, or it's a lower quality oil and it heats up. And here's how you can prevent these known potential risks. Like you said, it doesn't mean every one of them is going to have a problem. There are people that maintain those engines and never have problems with them.
Right.
And like Rick said, just protect your investment. And we're not here to pick on one car in particular. Every manufacturer has its quirks. This is just one that we've noticed with Chrysler.
Well, and you wanted to talk about a similar situation with a Dodge product. So, I mean, we want to talk tech. I want to talk to people who have these vehicles in our community, what they can know about their vehicles, how to prevent potential losses, and why they would want to even choose Nevada Mobile Automotive Service to service their vehicles, because having somebody that's knowledgeable, and if you don't want to have to study this as a consumer and know it all, well, then you want to deal with people that have the knowledge, which is you. So, but let's talk about another one. So we're not picking on just anybody.
Okay, another problem car.
Yeah.
Well, I think last week we kind of hit on those Fords, the diesel engines, and really Ford has many diesel engines, and they have that 7.3, the older one, and now they have the 6.0. That 6.0 diesel is very problematic, and they've changed. Since then, they've actually started manufacturing and changing their own motors, because they've realized, how problematic that is. And Rick is very experienced with those diesel engines also. So if you have any issues with those, please feel free to give us a call.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch base again. We're talking about maintenance and problematic engines. The 6.0 diesel, that I believe the year range from that was like 03 to 06. 2003, 2006, in the F250s up to 4 or 550s, 6.0 diesel. Very important to stay on top of your oil changes. Again, problematic. They have even Ford has recognized some of these issues. They've upgraded the high pressure oil pumps because the first 2 years, 03 and 04, the high pressure oil pumps that they put in, again, the injectors open up by oil pressure. And so they had to install a high pressure oil pump to bring up the oil pressure to open the injectors. And the first 2 years, the oil pumps had, I'm going to say, a design flaw. And so if you have a 6.0 engine that does not want to start and run, most likely, there's different issues. There can be different causes, but one of the most common is it's lost oil pressure. And so they have made upgraded oil pumps. There's a lot of I don't want to say aftermarket. I'm not talking about performance issues or performance items to put in your vehicle. They have made repair parts to replace the stock manufacturer parts to improve the running condition on these trucks to make them reliable.
And Mitch, I also wanted to hit on, you previously stated how we are dedicated to consumer education, and that's true, we are. I truly feel that a well-educated consumer can make a well-informed decision as to the repair and maintenance of their vehicle. And with that said, I also wanted to let you and our consumers out there know that starting the first of the year, we are actually expanding our customer education by offering a monthly class where they can come down to our shop and we will discuss the hot topic, educate them on how to check their oil, learn how to check for the coolant, just the regular maintenance stuff that needs to be done to the cars, change a tire, that kind of stuff, and to ask the deep questions that they really have questions about. And that's something that we're going to do free once a month starting in January.
Also, I want to say that the underlying thread of the conversation here is scheduled maintenance. And Michelle, you also have taken on a new program for scheduled maintenance so that people can plan for these expenses.
We have, and starting the beginning of the year, we will have our Love and Car Care packages. And so basically what that does is, we have to maintenance our vehicles to protect our investment. And at this point, a lot of consumers don't plan for that. So what we have done is we have devised these plans so that you can maintenance it and amortize that cost over a monthly cost. And we have different plans for regular gas engines all the way up to diesels.
Well, and that's the Love and Care packages from a business that love and cares about our community. That's Rick and Michelle Anderson, Nevada Mobile Automotive. How can they get a hold of you?
You can reach us at 2540 Sutro Street, suite number 12, just south of Hug High School on Sutro. You can visit us at www.nvmobileautoservice.com or call us at 775-200-4669.